Tanzania, because this is for my age. This is a relatively younger woman who have served her time with such a distinguished accomplishment of life. Dying at a young age of 58, if you are in the 70s like myself, then you can see that this is someone who's also almost coming a generation behind us. Now, you have asked me to talk about the political perspective of things. The late Dr. Mwele, she's coming from a political family. She's the daughter of, as you know, our former Vice President, Prime Minister. And I am also aware of her late mother, who was also a very professional woman, very distinguished professional woman. So she's really coming from the first generation of Tanzanian families that are not really peasants. So we are the watoto wa wakulima, and now we see the next generation, that is the children of professionals, leaders. So if I look at what she has been able to accomplish in her short life, it has been a lot. You asked the question that I have been this and I have been that. Dr. Omari, I would like to talk about what Dr. Mwele has been, because this panel is not about me, right? It is about her. Maybe I can take my own experiences and try to relate them to Dr. Mwele. And I can say she has beaten me in the race. She was running for president. I have never run for presidency. I have never found the courage. I didn't take the form. I could have taken the form, but I felt that no, I was not daring enough. I was not kuthubutu enough. So I would like really to applaud and to thank God and to say that she has lived a short but fruitful life. She's a leader. And a leader is not about rising to the top. Leadership is not about rising to the top. Leadership is about helping those around us to rise. She's a scientist, and you can see the outpowering of emotions upon her untimely death, her demise everywhere. I understand in Geneva, where my daughter happens to be working, and she was following. This is Kemi. And even at NIMRI, I'm not a scientist myself. I have not followed the affairs of NIMRI very closely, but the outpowering of emotions, of sentiments, of condolence, and of support, that tells you that a leader has died, because she has been helping others, scientists, and she was in the area which is, she's also a pioneer, you know, neglected tropical diseases. That's what her profile is saying. So she was also courageous and daring. And even, of course, when you dare, if you do things, if you move the bar, sometimes it can get you in trouble, which happened here. Because those societies can be static, they're not as dynamic. So she was really ahead of her time. So I would like to say that in celebrating her life, let us see that she's really a pioneer of many things, a scientist, a distinguished credentials. And that's what Africa needs if we are going to move. But also she's a compassionate, her staff. I have seen that she was leading from behind with the flock ahead of her, helping the young scientists, mentoring. I have had personal testimonies of young scientists, medical doctors, also botanists, zoologists, you name it, who said, Dr. Mwele helped me this way, Dr. Mwele mentored me this way, Dr. Mwele found me a scholarship, she linked up. So she was connecting people. So really, in terms of, from a political perspective, we are here celebrating a leader who happened also to be a scientist. At the international front where I have worked, a short stay in Geneva, but it is short in terms of being there, but she was already linked up at the international level. So you can see that she was not working. She was working in Tanzania, but serving globally. So I would really like to just end my brief introduction from the leadership front, that we are celebrating a real leader, a leader who is leaving behind, who has a legacy that will persevere, that will be with us for some time. And I think that this meeting this panel already shows that better things are going to come because she has inspired many. So with those remarks, I would like to stop there because I know that time is limited, and to say that if there are any further clarifications, I can join in later. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you so much, Professor Anna. So grateful to hear from you. We really appreciate the contributions you have made so far, and we really taking you that Dr. Mwele was really a leader and a scientist, but at the background, then she was having a political interest as well. Thank you very much. So let us move to the second speaker, Ambassador Togulani Mavura. Ambassador, are you there?
Oh, yes, I'm here.
Thank you. So Ambassador, you're speaking from South Korea. So please tell us about your interaction with Dr. Mwele, and how do you describe her leadership character, and what should we as young leaders learn from her? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Omar, for the opportunity. And at least me and you are the only male figure in this panel, which is also very good. Happy that in International Women's Day we're given a slot. That shows how women works. They usually give a space for all of us. So that's a good one. I had a long association with the late Dr. Mwele as well. I first came at least to know her, to see her on a TV while I was still young at school. And to me, she was the first early face of neglected tropical disease. I had no idea about what tropical disease are, neglected tropical disease are. But by then she was running a campaign for Matende and Mabusha, elephantiasis and hydrocele. And it was like something very new to me. But later I joined Foreign Affairs, and later I was assistant to the president, speechwriter, President Kikwete. So when I was working with President Kikwete is when I started working with Dr. Mwele very closely. By then she was at NIMRI. She was a person I consulted many times when it comes to matters of health, because if you have to prepare for the president, you have to be sure that you give the president the right information. And she was a person, a dada, a sister that I could run to, and she was very active with so many initiatives. She would come to me with, there's this idea, look at it. I think this is an angle we should take. And I really benefited from her advice. But later, when I joined President Kikwete as assistant to him after he retired as a former president, he was so much involved and is still actively until now on health issues, regional and globally. By then, Dr. Mwele was already at the WHO Afro before she went to Geneva, and we worked so closely. She helped us a lot in so many things. Actually, I was go between President Kikwete and her in so many issues of health. We are working together, developing some concept on universal healthcare. But Dr. Mwele was so much to so many people, and as rightly said by Professor Tibaijuka, she was beyond a scientist. The normal notion that we have, scientists are people who are very close, very busy with dealing with numbers and medicine and chemicals and all those kind of things. But she was all over an interaction. Sometimes you wouldn't even notice that she was a doctor. She was a scientist on one front. On the other side, she was a politician. She contested as presidential contestant. She was a football fan as well. And we interacted a lot with her on Twitter, on social media, and we could joke. And at no point you see her as accomplished scientist, accomplished leader. She will just be smooth. She had a way of, she has this magic of turning things to gold. Send her to anything, and then she, whether it was at NIMRI, whether it was at Matende na Mabusha, whether it was at NTDs, at WHO, but she had this way of working in a very smoother way, not louder, but you give her things and things will take place. But one of the quality of leadership that she has that I admired most was humility. You interact with Dr. Mwele like anybody, She won't make you feel small. She will take ideas. She will always listen to you, and she'll just give advice. And I think, to me, the fact that she was so accomplished, she came from a very established and strong political family, and chose to go to work with the NTDs, with the hydrolysis and electrolysis. That speaks a lot about what kind of person she was. She was so much into lifting the underprivileged to be a voice to the voiceless. And to me, that is leadership. And we're going to miss her dearly for that reason. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ambassador Togolani Mavura. That was very good to hear from you. You mentioned you had some interaction with her, especially when you start to work with under the president's office with Jakaya Kikwete. So thank you very much for your insight. We learned a lot from her by the way you have been interacted with her. We didn't know that she was also a footballer fan. So this is good for us. Let us move to the third panelist, Professor Julie McCann. She's now here, and Professor Julie McCann, she's a professor of hematology here at MUAS, and she's speaking with us from South Africa. Professor, you have worked a lot in science and research. So tell us, how can we advance science research in Tanzania? And in your personal opinion, to what extent Dr. Mwele advanced the field of health and science?
Thank you very much, Dr. Omari, and thank you very much to all the panelists and all the participants who have joined the session. So I think this session is being recorded, and we hope that we will be able to disseminate it for those people who have not been able to attend. So the three things that I would like to talk about and reflect on the legacy of Dr. Mwele is in terms of science, her legacy in science, her legacy in health, and really her legacy as a person in terms of leadership and kama binadamu as a person. And so from the perspective of science, Dr. Mwele, as she was able to work at a lot of levels. And so she was able to work at Tanzania level, she was able to work at Africa level, and she was able to work at global level. And I'll just give a few examples of what she was able to do at these three levels. At Tanzania level, as you know, as the head of NIMRI, she was really able to push science and health sciences in being able to be a platform for informing policy. And I think this is one of the issues that got her into trouble, because she really stuck and really based all her decisions and all her statements on scientific evidence. The second thing at national level that she did was that she really wanted to promote scientists in Tanzania. So she would just get very, very upset because scientists in Tanzania would be recognized in Africa, they would be recognized globally, but they would not receive recognition in Tanzania. And so she set up that would recognize achievements of scientists in Tanzania in every year. And I think this is something that is commendable. At Africa level, you heard about the work that she did very briefly at WHO Afro, and the achievements that she was able to do at Africa level before she moved to Geneva. Now at global level, and again, I really want to refer back to Professor Tibaijuka's comment, is that despite the fact that Dr. Mwele was based in Tanzania, based in NIMRI, but her impact was really global. And so she was able to really work and make an impact from Tanzania to the world. And I was able to meet Ambassador Togolani Mavura at that time, working for former President Kikwete, when Dr. Mwele was really instrumental in organizing for the president, at that time, President Kikwete, to visit the National Institutes of Health during the Obama Africa Summit. And I think this was a major, major achievement, and it was only possible because of the impact that Dr. Mwele had and the way that she was able to maneuver between, at that time, the ambassador in the US was Ambassador Mulamula, the president's office with President Kikwete, Professor Janabi and Ambassador Togolani, and the Ministry of Health. Really incredible, really showing the kind of person that Dr. Mwele was. Moving on from the impact that she had in science, one of the things that I would like to say in terms of the impact that Dr. Mwele had in health is that as a non-medical person, i.e. she was not a medical doctor, but she did not have any complexes in terms of inferiority complex, in terms of asking questions, in terms of interacting with medical doctors. And I think this shows the kind of person that she was. She was confident, she was competent, she was willing to say, what do I need to know about this health issue? So she did not, you were able to go and talk to her and you did not even remember that she was not a medical doctor because she was just so confident, she was just so competent, and she was just so embedded or confident in her capacity as a scientist that you did not have to worry about apologizing or compensating for anything. So I think that's something that's really, really unique. And I was talking to Dr. Kenneth Hosea, who he's the current director of higher education at the Ministry of Education, Science and Technology, and he's a scientist at University of Dar. One of the unique things that Dr. Mwele had was that she would bring people together, whether you were non-medical, non-health, as long as you were a scientist, as long as you were competent, she would look for ways to bring you in and get you involved in whatever work that she did. And I think this is really important because in order for us as healthcare providers, as scientists, in order for us to make any strides as Tanzania, as Africans, as Black people, we really need to be able to work together. And that was one thing that Dr. Mwele was able to do. I think the final thing that I would like to say is what Dr. Mwele was as a person. And she was really, really, I'm echoing what Ambassador Togolani said, in that she had humility. You would meet her, she would be in, the poorest of places, and you would not realize who she was. You would meet her at the height of Geneva, London, Paris, and she would be able to fluctuate between these two places, and her personality did not change. And I think that is really unique, and that is something that she really tried to pass on to people. And I learned a lot from her about that. The second thing is that she was very gracious. She led, as Ambassador Tibaijuka, Professor Tibaijuka said, she led from behind. So she was gracious. She would encourage you to shine. She would not get into fights. She would graciously take things back. And grace and graciousness is something that Dr. Mwele had in abundance. And then the final thing is that she was one of the most courageous people that I have ever known. She was brave, she was courageous, and even when she knew that having a certain perspective, having a certain stand would really jeopardize her position or jeopardize her standing, she said, this is what I believe in and this is what I stand for. And I think these three things, her grace, her humility, and her courage, are things at personal level that are really things that we hope that we can continue as part of her legacy. Thank you very much for listening to me. Back to you, Dr. Omari.
Thank you very much, Professor Julie, for a very nice talk. And we have learned a lot from how she was interacting with you, and it's some of the unique characters that you have mentioned: gracious, confident, competent, courageous. So this is very good for us. So thank you again, Professor Julie. I would like to move on to the fourth speaker, Dr. Upendo Mwingila. Dr. Upendo Mwingila is a technical director from RTI International, based in the US. Dr. Upendo, perhaps you have been the closest friend to Dr. Mwele, and you also mentioned during her her departure, that she was your mentor in research, but more important, she inspired you to do work on NTDs, including your PhD. So what is her contribution to your life? And what do you tell us in detail? How did she influence your research career to this moment? Please, welcome.
Thanks very much, Omari, and thanks for the opportunity to be one of the panelists to honor Dr. Malecela. I will try within 5 minutes to respond to the question you've posed to me, but I believe I can talk all over the day about Dr. Mwele. I met Dr. Malecela back in 2003. After my internship, I joined the National Institute for Medical Research, and I was posted at the National Filariasis Elimination Program, which was dealing with Matende and Mabusha. So I was posted there as a clinician, also as a research assistant. By that time, the program used to have annual events of launching of activities. And in those launching events, there was one activity which was dealing with the washing of limbs of the people who are affected with Matende. I could really see how patient Dr. Malecela was to those patients who were affected by lymphatic filariasis or elephantiasis. So she was very patient, and she was very much inspiring us, actually myself and some few of clinicians who were working there, to work to support these patients. Then in later years, Dr. Mwele really pioneered the effort to integrate the lymphatic filariasis program into the broader so-called now the neglected tropical disease program. The program that now covers more than Matende and Mabusha. It also covers Usubi, it covers onchocerciasis, it covers trachoma, the eye disease, it covers the worms diseases. So mostly it's about five of the diseases. And I happened to be the first program manager to lead that program. So Dr. Mwele was really key to an advisor of that program, and it's one of the best or kind of doing very well across all NTD endemic countries. So when it comes to Mwele in research, by that time when I joined, Dr. Mwele was also the director of research and coordination at NIMRI. And her role was mainly to promote and coordinate research activities. So I remember several times she was insisting on formulation of good research questions. Wherever you go to her with, as a young scientist, she would really take you back and say, can you really tell me what is the exact research question? Tell me. And then, of course, she also emphasized after you have done your research to make sure that you really use those findings to inform or change the well-being of the people we are working with them. So for our case, it was taking care of the quality of those people we are working with, the people who are affected with Matende and Mabusha. Going back to my career, I think I cannot count what Dr. Mwele contributed towards my career. I've been very much privileged to pursue my postgraduate studies in tropical medicine, and I got that scholarship through NIMRI. And I really very much applied the knowledge and experience gained from her as a director of the program, as a director of the institute, and so many others who are working there. So I can really count towards very much of whatever I have been or the level I've been here towards her and NIMRI at large. I also did my PhD while I was still at NIMRI. And I recall, Mwele was one of my supervisors. I recall one day, I was so much frustrated. I was almost the last year of my PhD, and I was so confused that one of my research objectives was not well answered by the the data I was having. So I went to her office, very much frustrated, about to drop. I was like, oh no, Dada, I cannot do this anymore. This is too much. And she just calmed me down and told me, Upendo, this is the right track. Now you are in the right track. If you come here and you say, oh, everything is smooth, that's not PhD. PhD, you have to struggle. You have to get a hiccup in the middle. So she really guided me towards disentangling. Sorry, can you hear me? Hello?
Yes, we can hear you. Continue.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, so she really enables me to disentangle, to solve that challenge, and I managed to submit my proposal on time, my thesis on time, and graduated on time. And she really surprised me by coming all over from Congo Brazzaville to attend my graduation in Munich, Germany. So I'm very much thankful for her. I think I also mentioned that Mwele was a mentor to me, as a sister and a very close friend. She taught me during all the time I worked with her, she taught me how to be humble. And I think many people here have explained that, to respect people despite of their age, their race, their gender, their education level. And here I want to give you one example. When I joined the program, I found her that she was also having, she lived in Amani Center, Amani Hills at Nimri. And that was her first appointment. And she showed to me and us at the program, the person who taught her to do filariasis lab analysis. That old man was very committed. And Mwele used to tell us always, please respect this guy. He's the one who taught me the job. So he's like your mentor as well. So we really worked with that man all over our time. And I think my colleagues at Nimri can testify that this man really trained a lot of people after Mwele, then us, and then the next generation. So Mwele was a good friend, a workmate. Another thing I've learned from her is that your workmates have to be your friends. You should not be enemies at work. You should not have enemies at work. Please be humble, be in good relationship with whoever you're working with. She was a very open and honest and always interested in lifting up others. I could really see that. In terms of partnership, I think I can mention that Mwele was a champion in partnership. She could really build up partnership and maintain the win-win situation all the times. I think I can say that Mwele, she was a strong believer of the Helen Keller's quote, that alone we can do so little, but together we can do so much. So I really appreciate her having the opportunity to work with her. As a friend, she was my confidant. I used to share a lot with her. I managed to be close to her and her family, very close, and so she did. And as I said, I really feel that Mwele really advocated on empowering of women and girls in Tanzania and all over the world. I can hear, a few weeks ago, I've been hearing a lot of women, even outside Tanzania, here in the US, mentioning her, that she was a very big person who inspired them to work in science or to study in science and so forth.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Omari. And as I said, I can talk a lot, so thanks a lot.
I see. Thank you very much, Dr. Upendo, for the nice talk. You mentioned a few of the characters. She was more eager to make people change, but also she was your work friend, but you said to be in a good way, you should also be your friend. So your work friend should also be your friend. That's good. That's good quote to get. So we move ahead to Dr. Redempta Batia. Dr. Redempta, she is also a Welwelo alumni some times ago. but now she's a executive director for THPS. She's going to tell us, as she was also, Dr. Mwele was also a Welwel alumni. So Dr. Redemptor, you have been Welwel alumni with Dr. Mwele, but how Dr. Mwele was trying to demonstrate leadership from her tender age. So please share any specific examples that you remember that can be passed to girls and young women working in the health sector. Karib, Dr. Redemptor.
Thank you, Dr. Omari, and thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to be part of the panelists, especially as we are really having this first workshop in memory of Dr. Mwele. So yes, I am a Welwel alumni, and Dr. Mwele was a year behind me in secondary school, Welwel. This was ordinary secondary school. And I also had a lot of interactions with her when she was a board member of the Dodoma Christian Medical Center. We would be there sitting together in meetings, and you could clearly see all the characteristics and the talents that have been mentioned here: courageous, confident, humble, but really standing for what she believes. And this was very clearly demonstrated as a leader. I remember it where she became the Minister for Culture and Education Affairs. And eventually, I believe that's where her leadership skills were really nurtured and she grew up. So maybe just some quick 3 examples. When she was working at NIMRI as, I don't remember the title, but this was in Tanga, Muheza, I think. And I think it was 1998 during the rainy seasons in May or so. There was a Dar es Salaam bound bus from Tanga that was involved in a terrible accident at Muheza. You know, this is the northeastern part of Tanzania, where the floods swept the bus off the bridge over a gully, killing at least 70 people. I believe Dr. Mwele was traveling for duty then, and their car arrived at the accident scene. I don't have any details, by then I was still working at KCMC, but I remember everybody talking about how she actually decided to jump and swim in the floods, the moving water, to rescue individuals whom she tried to save their lives. And I believe some were saved, but as you know, we all lost, at least 70 people died. This was a huge and terrible accident. So it just shows the selfless person she was, the leader she was, forgetting about herself and really trying to do something for others, immediately acting, decisive and making sure she does the right thing at the right time without any doubt. This is one thing which really, and I did mention to her how much it inspired, not even worrying how young she was. People were like, is this girl crazy? The other example I would like to cite is when she was working as the Director General of NIMRI. I remember once I bumped into her at their offices. We had gone for a meeting there. And she told me, after a quick chat that, I would like to initiate a Dr. Maria Kam Best Female Scientist Award to encourage upcoming female young women scientists so that they can excel and contribute to the global research base. And this actually attests to what Professor Julie just said, that she wanted Tanzanian researchers also to be recognized. And this was part of it. And she even further mentioned to me, because we both share Mama Kam as our mama, having been students at Welwel, she did mention that because not only did she want to make sure these women get opportunities, but also she felt it was high time Dr. Maria Kam's contribution in educating the girl child in Tanzania get known, so that other people, the coming generations actually understand her contribution in making sure women and girls can equally access the best possibilities and opportunities that usually used to be seen as men. So this award, eventually it happened, and this is Mwele. You know, she was courageous, she worked through it, and she made it happen. And in 2016, 3 best female scientists, the first number 1, number 2, and 3, got this award in honor of Dr. Maria Kam. For those who don't know, Dr. Maria Kam was the headmistress at Werero Secondary School for almost 30 years. And I remember I was also a student leader myself, a year ahead of Mwele. She used to encourage students to take up science subjects, really pushing them to the highest level of performance and excellence. You know, whoever said, I cannot, you say, you can and you will do it, and people would do it. And no one would end up getting Division 4. The last would get Division 3, and maybe this would be 1 or 2. Majority would be 1 and 2. So this is where Dr. Mwele came in. She wanted also to continue with this spirit, but also she wanted that person who actually pushed the girl child to be recognized.
Thank you very much.
The last one is really a quick one. A quality that I would like to say, since I went to school with her, she was a hardworking girl. She was courageous, and she would meet all the demands that are put on her with a smile. I remember once in Dodoma when we had this board meeting, we finished the meeting at around 4 o'clock, and yet she drove to Dar es Salaam. We told them, well, this is too late, you know, you should wait. And the road by then was not so good, but she didn't give up, so she went, and thank goodness nothing happened. So to finish up, these examples clearly show what a selfless leader Mwele was, and she would use whatever was in her power to make sure that there is a difference in the society where she lives. So she really had what we call service above self. And thank you very much for this opportunity.
I appreciate Dr. Demta for your talk. What I've learned, one word from here is selfless leader. Thank you very much. So let us continue with the last speaker. So please, Rebecca, you can only use 2 to 3 minutes because of our time is not our side. Rebecca Gumi is the director for Wasichana Initiative. The Wasichana Initiative was mentored or chaired by Dr. Mwele. So she worked somehow with Dr. Mwele for some time while she was mentoring them. So we normally know that there's a lack of young women scientists in Tanzania and in other development countries as well. Rebecca, as a young female who worked with Dr. Mwele as your mentor, what was your experience in her contribution to make sure that the girls get their rights, and especially also involved in science and research? Welcome, Rebecca.
Thank you so much, Dr. Omari. And I also like to applaud all the previous speakers who have spoken about, a leader of our country that we consider to be our mama, Mwenyekiti, and we feel very privileged to be here and talk a little bit about her. So we met, personally, I met with Dr. Mwele in 2015 when she was vying for the presidential position. I interviewed her. At that time, I was working at a strategic communication organization, and we were having, we were carrying rather, a girl empowerment or project that aimed at ensuring that all presidential candidates understood the girl issues and agenda, and they carry them in their manifesto. So, I mean, meeting her, the way you hear about her name, I could actually attest to so many qualities that many people have spoken about her this evening. How humble she was, full of humility, and, just the eye of, details, but at the same time, very calm in the way that she carried herself. Fast forward in 2016, when we were founding Wasichana Initiative, we approached her, I think like 4 months after we were founded, because we were founded in January 2016. we approached her and asked her to join the organization as our first board chair. So you could actually imagine a woman of her caliber, position, and as many have also said, many accomplishments that she had, joining an organization which was 4 months. And as a chair, it could almost be a dream to many, as we know, you know, but she humbly accepted us. She was like, yeah, sure. What do you want me to do? Literally, she was the one who felt like we did her an honor to ask her to join our organization. And what I can actually say, being a female executive director and having her as our board chair, it has shaped me in a way that maybe this session alone is not enough for me to be able to attest to that. But Mama Mwele was full of humility. She was visionary. She was result-oriented, yet very humble, and a mentor that was ready to see, you know, a diamond that was actually in the sand. You know, she saw us when maybe nobody could actually feel like, you know, they wanted to be part of us. Fast forward, we are 6 years now, and we feel indebted that in our humble achievements, humble beginnings, whatever that we've been able to achieve up to now, she has contributed a lot. But I'll also say Mama Mwele was very empathetic as a leader, but also very firm in her decisions. Like, she could emphasize with you, you know, in the things that you're going through, in the way that you're able to arrive to certain decisions or not, but still she was very firm in the way that she led us, she guided us, you know, to live to the true vision and mission of our organization. And as a champion of girls' rights, Mama Mwele believed in the investment on girls' issues or girl agenda. She believes in the potential of the girls in Tanzania, in our communities. But above all, she really championed and believed in the systemic transformation so that many girls in Tanzania and young women could join STEM subjects or could just choose careers which are normally considered to be for men or for boys. And as a result of that, we have seen through Msichana Initiative, we were able to establish 64 clubs, in-school clubs for boys and girls in Tanzania, but specifically looking at the inclusion of girls. And these clubs are reaching more than 3,000 children in our country. But she was also particularly very interested on the girls who were out of school, particularly girls who were not able to continue education because of pregnancy. And many of the things that we were able to initiate, including the out of school projects in Tabora and Dodoma, that is reaching more than 1,000 girls, was because of our leadership and our firm belief that girls, wherever they are, be it in school or outside of school, they have an opportunity and they deserve an opportunity to unleash their potential. And I think something that Dada Upendo said, which I actually laughed when she talked about it, because really that was Mama Mwele. She was a believer of, you know, we can actually achieve more together. She would normally quote in between our board meeting sessions that if you want to go fast, you go alone. But if you want to go far, you go together. Something that she really believed. And I would like to quote a very famous quote that she would normally put in many of our reports, that most girls in Tanzania have big dreams, but most of the dreams are quashed for several reasons, including child marriages and other sexual and gender-based violence. So let us work together to keep the dreams of these children alive. Let us keep the fires in their hearts. Let us keep the fires in the hearts of these young girls burning. So this was Mama Mwele to us. But to just finish off, in her selfless and, you know, really belief in service, I cannot count how many times we actually hold board meetings where she was either in between sessions in the hospital or she was in between meetings, but she would say, no, we need to hold this meeting. You know, I will squeeze myself and we need to hold this meeting. So personally for me, I feel very humbled and honored to have worked with her. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Rebecca, for your views and your interaction with Dr. Mwele. And I would like to thank you all the panelists for your thoughts and quite responding well to the questions that I've been raising. And I think I will allow only 2 questions or any kind of interactions or experience that you had from the people who are participating here. And then afterwards, we're going to close up because the time is almost out of us. So anyone who want to talk about, we have Mr. Abdurrahman. Abdurrahman.
Please unmute.
Is no longer there. Abdurrahman.
And his hand is down.
Yeah, maybe it was just a mistake. So anyone with 1 or 2 words with regard to Dr. Mwele's life? Pamela, Sabina.
Hello, good evening to you all. My name is Pamela Mbawazi Sabina. I had the privilege of having Mwele as my supervisor here at the Department of Control of Neglected Tropical Diseases in Geneva, Switzerland, where I'm based. All the tributes you're saying further confirm a lot that we as members, as her most recent staff, experienced. And one thing I want to reflect upon is not so much her professional work, but her character and personality, which can be summarized in one word we really valued of her, and that was her confidence. Confidence in who she knew who she was, and not in an arrogant way, but she knew who she was. She knew herself as an African woman, a believer, a Christian. That's not something she hid. And most of all, as a Tanzanian. Remember, she was working in a very multicultural setting. So it always struck us, and she would remind us in subtle but important ways that she was a Tanzanian. She understood that she stood on the shoulders of giants and did not take it for granted. Even as we saw her, leading us, knowing she was sick and sometimes breathless, she would continue to give and give and give. And I can attest to the fact that she gave in very impactful ways, even to her very last days. So we are grateful for this daughter of Africa and the example she set. And the fact that she was compelled to give back is a reminder for all of us who have the opportunities to serve and work as we do, that many others don't have the same opportunity. And Mwele really used every opportunity she had to put wind under our wings, that we may go forth and fulfill a common vision and supreme ideals we all hold. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Pamela, from Geneva, for your quiet contributions and interaction you had with Dr. Mwele. So if there's no additional hands, we are almost out of time. And there are a few things that I would like to wrap up. And so far I've noticed that Dr. Mwele was visionary, so many good characters, was humble. She was lifting others, was competent, but also confidence. She was with humility, empathetic. She was firm in decisions. She was firm in decisions. She was a scientist, and more important, she was also a political leader. So I would like to say, and on behalf of the Secretariat of Dr. Mwele's Science and Health Initiative, thank you again for participating and your great interactions you had in this symposium. Let us continue to honor her legacy. And because this seminar was also recorded, we are going to share this to many people who have not able to join us today. For their own time, they can see what the Dr. Mwele has contributed to the science, health, as well as the leadership. I would like to say goodbye to everyone and see you next time.
Where?
Thank you all.
Thank you, everyone. God bless.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Julie, nice to see you.
Thank you.
May I
Asante.
also question a
Thank
channel?
you all.
Thank you all.
Asante, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you very much.
Asante,
Great,
asante.
Julie and Redempta and all the others. Thanks.
Asante, Eric.
And thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Walikuwa hapo kwenye watoto wanapiga kelele. Alikuwa nyumbani kwake Dr. naye huyo mzee. No, inawezekana